2024. Call the meeting to order. First up is the approval of the minutes from the April 22nd regular meeting. Commissioners, any comments, questions? If not, we'll consider those to be approved. And next is public hearings. First public hearing will be Mint Development, Comprehensive Plan Amendment and Rezoning, southwest corner of Pleasant Drive and South Frontage Road. And John Hinsman will have the staff report.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, Planning Commissioners. Tonight before us, we've got a public hearing to consider two actions related to land located at the southwest corner of South Frontage Road and Pleasant Drive, which is shown here. It's about a 3.9 acre property that's owned by Hedra and is proposed for development by Mint Development. The two items we have tonight are a comprehensive plan amendment, which would change the future land use designation of medium density residence to commercial, and then a rezoning of the property from R1 low-density residence to C4 regional shopping center. So you're asked to hold the public hearing tonight and then to consider a recommendation to the City Council. So with the project here, we do have a purchase and development agreement with Mint Development to sell the property for future development. Some of the pertinent items of that contract include closing before the end of this year, December 31st, 2024, and the approval of all land use applications. What's before you tonight is a part of those land use applications. Before the end of the year, he would come forward with a site plan application and a plat application for the land itself. At that time, we would have more detail pertaining to how the site would be developed and take a look at those specific requirements. Tonight, we're really looking at land use itself. Within the packet, I did provide a conceptual drawing of how the site could be developed on that. That's more to show how the site could be utilized than anything for specific comment tonight by the board. So when we take a look at the comprehensive plan and rezoning, we're looking at two separate items. The comprehensive plan is really a guiding document that we have. It looks at what we want to see for development over a 20-year period and guides land for future development that's consistent with it. The zoning is the legal land use of the property. That is the definition, the law of how the property is developed. Under the zoning code, we have specific uses that are allowed by right or by special use, and so that really has the regulatory authority over the use of the property. So we take a look at the property here today. We've got South Frontage Road, Pleasant Drive. We've got Westview Mall, which is Zone C4 and guided commercial to the east of the property. We've got commercial property to the northeast, vacant property held by the city to the north of the property, Pleasant Hill Library. We've got Hastings Marketplace Townhomes, which are owned by the Dakota County Community Development Agency. And then we have McCullough School down towards the south, and then residential on the other side of 12th Street. This is what the site looks like today. If you're out there, you may recognize, boy, this site's pretty low. It has some drainage in there right now. Can this be developed as a site other than a drainage pond? And I had similar questions looking at that as well. The developer is confident that he can not only have provisions for the existing drainage on the property, but also for drainage that will be generated through development of the site. He'll be obligated to provide for both of here. So there will be some changes to the site. One thing you will note that there's some pretty good tree coverage on the perimeter of the site that, as we look at the site development, we'll look at that a little more closely. Looking at the comprehensive plan itself, property right now is guided medium density residential. It's looking to be guided for commercial. So when we look at the guidance of property, we take a look at what we've anticipated within the area and other properties that are similar guided, and does it make sense to guide the property in such a fashion. So here we've got commercial property guided to the north and east of the property, so it is consistent to have the property designated as commercial. With commercial properties, you're always looking at intersections that have some higher volume and some visibility. In this circumstance, Pleasant Drive is a collector road as well as South Frontage Road, and it's not too far away from Highway 55, which is a major road through town. So we do believe that this is consistent with this change is consistent with our planning policies here and do support the change to commercial. With the rezoning on the property, right now the property is zoned R1. We are proposing a rezoning to C4, which is this brown area. All the areas to the east of the property, Westview Mall, Speedway, et cetera, are zoned C4 presently. So similar things. We take a look at what property is zoned around it, make sure that the property that is being proposed for rezoning is consistent with it, and it makes sense from a regional planning standpoint. So the C4 designation does allow for the retail service that is being proposed by Mr. Barson's development, so we are supportive of the rezoning of the property as well. So that is the report that I have tonight. If you have any questions for that, I can stand for that at this time, or you may open up the public hearing. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, John. We'll go ahead and open the public hearing. All right, anyone here wish to speak? Nope. Anyone on, are we still using Zoom? Anyone on Zoom? Nope, nobody on Zoom. Nobody here wish to speak? We'll go ahead and close the public hearing. And open it up to commissioners for questions. Commissioner Tyken.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Did we send out notice to the townhouses around there?
We did. We sent out notification to all neighbors within 350 feet of the property. I did not receive any questions or comments from anyone from the mailing.
I personally am kind of conflicted on this because if you buy a piece of property next to commercial and they want to put up a chicken sandwich place, you kind of have to accept it. But if you buy a piece of property next to something that's zoned R1 and we change the rules on them, if they put a chicken place next to that place, they're going to be upset. So are they rentals or are they?
They are rentals, yes.
They are rentals? Okay. On both sides?
On the west side, certainly with CDA properties. In the south, I'm not sure if those are rentals or ownership units. I know that they're twin homes mostly on the south.
Okay.
Their ownership on the south side.
South side there?
Yep.
I guess I'd be okay with it. We could have some way to ensure that the trees or screening stays up, unlike your drawing that you have, where there's really nothing in between them and the backside of that building. Because like I said, it's hard to switch something in midstream when it butts up to residential. That's my only concern, so I'll leave it up to the rest of the commission for their thoughts. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome, Commissioner Halbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess I share concerns with Commissioner Tyken, not only with the loss of the tree, and I understand this is completely conceptual, but the loss of the tree covering and the increase of light now for not only the homes to the west, but also to the south. There's such a nice buffer right now for those townhomes with the hill that you take that away, you flatten some of that out, that's gonna be a lot of light that's coming into those townhouses now. Even if you do a smaller candle, you go by you go from darker to quite bright. I guess I'm the same way. I like the idea of putting something there because I think there's a good opportunity to have something to continue that growth in the area. But I worry about, and that'd be something once we have actual site plans to go about, and also turning on and off of Pleasant. Which way can cars try to jet across, or are they going to direct them only to go one way where they go southbound coming out of the east side driveway, so that way they're not trying to cut across. So I have some just basic concerns, but I guess that would be all more addressed in terms of a site plan if this moves forward. So I guess not so much a question, more a couple comments. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. I do have a question. So slide 9 or number 9 here, that is a conceptual drawing?
It is, yeah. It's to
And-
show how the site could be developed.
Could
on
be
this one.
developed, because that potential building is in the southeast corner? No.
Southwest, yep.
Southwest corner, so it's, so the back literally goes up against the townhomes to the west, and then that whatever that would be on the south side goes up right against the townhomes on the south. So now that's two areas that are affected by this decision.
Could be, all depending on how the site design ultimately comes out, the grading plan and tree preservation. We've had some conceptual review of this concept plan. We've shared the concerns about the tree preservation and also the siting to provide as much protection as possible to the existing residential. So the developer has those comments as he moves forward towards site design.
Okay. Commissioners, any other questions? Commissioner Peters?
I guess it's not a question, just, when looking at the land use map, it does look like this is the furthest that the commercial zoning could go. Like, it would never continue into the, further to the left there or down at the, would it be the south, whichever direction that is. But it does seem like it would be limited there because you have the school and then existing structures. So that makes me feel a little bit more comfortable with the concept overall, because it's not, I don't see that making this part commercial would then cause more commercial to be developed there. So that makes me feel a little bit more comfortable with it. I do agree with a lot of the things that are being brought up, but I think that those are site plan things that we can't really make a judgment about the land use based on what we might think could happen in a site plan. So I guess I'm okay with because it wouldn't go further.
And then just to clarify, John, all of those residents to the south, 1421, 1413, 1405, and 1401, they did receive the notice? They would have
Correct.
been in the notice, okay. Okay. Commissioner Tyken?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We would be, in a sense, creating a zoning island, though, of the stuff to the 1601, which is what R4 high-density residential. So that'd be surrounded by school, residential, library, or commercial library. It would be its own island. I wish we could have kept a strip of land or something that would protect the residential from the commercial. Because we might get a site plan. It might be for, one thing, but 5 years from now, that building could flip to something else that we can't really control over, so, yeah. That's all I got.
Okay. Commissioner Halpert?
I'll make the motion to approve the comprehensive plan amendment and rezoning southwest corner of Pleasant Drive and South Frontage Road.
All right, we have a motion to approve. We have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Brown, second. Any new discussion? Okay, no new discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries with one no.
Okay. And Commissioners, this item will go before the City Council on May 20th for first reading of the rezoning, and then the full action on the second reading of rezoning and the comprehensive plan amendment would be on the council for June 3rd. Thank you.
All right, thanks, John. Okay, next up is another public hearing for City of Hastings ordinance amendment, keeping of chickens, ducks, and quail. And the staff reporter will be Justin Fortney.
Yeah, thank you very much. A citizen request was made to council members to allow up to 6 chickens along with ducks and quail in the city of Hastings. A council planning committee met on the request and directed staff to draft a proposal. We've allowed up to 4 chickens for nearly 3 years in the city of Hastings and currently have 8 license holders. There was an instance where chickens had gotten out of one of the properties, but other than that, there hasn't been any other complaints for any of the other chicken license holders. Staff doesn't believe that another 2 chickens would cause any ill effects. Many cities that first allowed around 4 chickens have increased to 6 or more since they originally began allowing them. There have also been some cities that have more recently modified their ordinance to allow additional poultry beyond chickens. When it comes to those additional type of poultry, there's little consistency in the types. But what's kind of been consistent is the response from staff that there hasn't really been much interest in those additional types of poultry. Some of them reported between 1 and a few license holders for something else besides chickens. And they haven't really had any issues with those either. Though the types of poultry that are often chosen when there is a wide variety that they could choose from. Some cities just allow poultry in general, and sometimes they exclude different types. But generally, the ones that people choose are ones that lay eggs. So that would be typically ducks and quail that have high production of eggs and are often eaten. Ducks have a reputation for being quiet like chickens, but are a little bit more messy, and they require a little bit more management and cleaning and space. Some cities allow them to be mixed with chickens and others do not. The internet, of course, is filled with both opinions on the matter. Staff understands that mixing them together does work, but it's not the best practice. So we're proposing that a license holder can be issued for chickens or for ducks, but not mixing them together. Quail are substantially smaller than chickens. At most, they can weigh up to about a half a pound, whereas chickens weigh up to 10 pounds. Quail mature much more quickly and can lay eggs in as quick as 6 weeks compared to 6 to 7 months for chickens. Quail are even more quiet and can be housed compactly. Their hutches take up little room and are not very noticeable. For these reasons, staff is proposing that keepers of ducks and keepers of chickens could also keep quail. The draft language was clarified in the handout to you this evening. That just makes that more clear, along with a comparison on duck, chicken, and quail eggs, and a comparison of quail versus chicken, and then just shows what a typical quail hutch might look like in comparison to a typical chicken coop. Most of the amendments are in the animal ordinance under keeping of chickens, but the zoning ordinance does have mentions the use under allowable uses for each district, which are currently in the predominantly single-family typical zoning districts. And the only change we're proposing there is to change it from keeping chickens to keeping chickens, ducks, and quail. I can offer any other clarification or explanation before or after the public hearing.
Okay. Thanks, Justin. Quick question. So I'm on the change sheet here. So with the picture of the coop and the hutch. So it says here that 10 quail can mix with any size chicken or ducks. So does the person have to have a separate quail hutch?
Oh, yeah, they're not compatible in the same housing. They would have to have a chicken coop, and then they would also have to have a quail hutch.
So how is the city going to, how does the city handle current chicken coop building again? Refresh our memory from the conversation 2 years ago.
Well, somebody would make an application and they would draw a sketch plan of where the coop would be located and the chicken run, and show the setbacks for it. And once that's approved, they would make the improvements and an inspection would be done and make sure that it meets all the regulations and consistent with the plan that they submitted.
So they would have to have a chicken coop and a quail hutch to allow them to mix, okay. Or to have a mix of the To have both? Okay. All right. Commissioners, any questions? Okay. The only other question I have is when those chickens got out, did the city have to do an inspection? Or what happened there?
Somebody called code enforcement and said that there was chickens in their front yard, and they followed up with the homeowner and, reminded them to make sure that they don't let them get out.
Okay. So, did like an inspection just to make sure that it met the city's requirements? Or it's just a quick FYI to the homeowner?
I'm not sure. I just found out recently. I wasn't involved in the
Oh,
in the
okay.
incident.
I'm just trying to wrap my head around that, so. Because this is an expansion of the space, so I just want to. Yep, all right. All right, with that, I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing. Anyone wish to speak on the chicken ordinance? Nope. Anyone on Zoom? Okay, we'll close the public hearing. All right. Commissioners, any further questions, comments? All right, Commissioner Tyken?
Thanks, Justin. This is one of the best reports I've seen. So there's like a lot of data in here that you didn't go over, and a lot of research. My only real question is, why did we limit it at 6? Was it just the size of the coop that they would need?
Yeah, that was the request. The coop would be getting, larger.
Okay.
I think the reason why people want to keep chickens is for, consumption of, the eggs for their family. I've had chickens before, and when you have 6 chickens laying eggs, that's more. I eat a lot of eggs, and that's more eggs than our family could eat. So
Okay.
I don't know if there's a reason to go beyond that and still call it an accessory use for the family.
Okay. And then, just so I understand this, they could have 6 chickens and 10 quail on the same property?
Correct.
Okay. And the other thing I was just going to note, I didn't realize that if you had egg allergies, you could eat quail eggs or duck eggs, so.
Well, it's a possibility. I think there's like 60 or 60% chance you could be allergic to the other, but you might not.
Okay, cool. Otherwise, I think it looks good. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. Commissioners, any other questions? If not, entertain a motion. Commissioner Tyken.
We recommend approval of the ordinance amendment 2024-16, amends ordinances 155 and 91, keeping of chickens in residential areas.
All right, motion approved. Commissioner Tyken, a second.
I'll second.
Commissioner Peters, second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
Okay, as we move forward with this, first reading by council will occur on May 20th, and then second reading and final adoption would be on June 3rd. Thank you.
Okay. All right, and our next public hearing is, let me make sure I get this correct, Judith, is it Kulla? Kulla? Kula? Thank you. Judith Kula. Special use permit, cannabis sales, 427 Vermillion Street. And staff report, John Hinsman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Planning Commissioners. The next 2 items we have are similar. They are for the same type of application. So I'll go through some explanation of what we're looking at in total here, and then what we're looking at specifically for each of the requests. So what we have tonight are 2 special use permits, 2 separate properties for cannabis retail sales. One for Judith Kula, which we'll be looking at here at Caring Hands Massage at 427 Vermillion Street. The Planning Commission is asked to hold a public hearing tonight and then to review the application and provide a recommendation to the council. So with cannabis business regulation, these were adopted in November of 2023. They are within the zoning code itself as a special use permit within the C3 and C4 zoning districts, and then also as a licensing requirement, a business license that is required through City Code Chapter 117. Now, any business license is regulated through the clerk's department. So we work hand in hand with the clerk's department in the clerk providing the background information on the applicant, also the police chief's report on the location itself and security plan, and we take those regulations and wrap them into the special use permit itself. We also have a notification process as part of the special use permit. All property owners within 350 feet were notified. We have not heard any comments at this time pertaining to this application. Property itself is zoned C3, so it is consistent in being able to have a cannabis retail license with a special use permit. When you take a look at the location here, we're on 5th and Vermilion Street. You do have some commercial to the south and to the west and north, one residential home over towards the east here. The primary entrance to Caring Hands Massage is all focused on to Vermilion Street and the corner of 5th Street. So mostly commercial properties, and all properties are Zone C3, which surround it. Caring Hands Massage has been in operation for a number of years. They do not have a tobacco license, and we're not aware of any compliancy issues with them. Within your report, I put the performance standards present for cannabis products. Some of the highlights include you have to be 21 years or older, require proof of age prior to sale. Cannabis products must comply with the testing and labeling requirements of Minnesota state law. Sales are limited from 10 p.m. to no sales between 10 p.m. and 8 a.m. They have to have a security plan approved by the police chief, which police chief has signed off on this one, and they're subject to compliance checks periodically to ensure that things are being run as per the ordinance. So when we take a look at this, we take a look at the licensing requirements, which I've pointed out to you earlier. We also take a look at special use permit requirements that are in general. Now, most of these special use permit requirements are really not applicable. I did go through them within the report pertaining to ingress, egress, parking, refuse services, and the like. Frankly, the nature of the operation is not really intensifying here. It's more of a matter of another product being offered for sale on site here. So really none of these are applicable. So staff is recommending approval of the special use permit for Judith Kula at Caring Hands Massage. You can open up the public hearing at this time, or I could stand for any questions. Thank you.
All right, thanks, John. I will go ahead and open up the public hearing. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak? No? All right, nobody on Zoom. Are we even doing Zoom?
No Zoom tonight.
Oh, no Zoom tonight. Okay, we don't have to worry about that. We'll go ahead and close the public hearing. All right, open up to commissioners. Any questions? Comments? Motions? Commissioner Peters?
I'll make a motion to approve the special use permit as recommended.
All right, motion to approve Commissioner Peters, second.
I'll second.
Commissioner Halberg, any new discussion? If not, all right, if not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The recommendation for this will go to the City Council at the May 20th meeting.
All right, and you can do the next one as well. This will be a public hearing again for, and again, is it the name?
Yeah, Vipul Patel.
Vipul Patel, okay. Special use permit, cannabis sales, 1608 Vermilion Street.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This would be for 1608 Vermilion Street, similar type of application, similar requirements pertaining to it. We ask you to hold the public hearing tonight and then review the special use permit application itself. In this circumstance, we've got the property located west of Vermilion Street between 16th and 17th Street. Most of the property, or all of the property, is zoned commercial surrounding it, but for the Leduc Mansion across the street, which is zoned public institution. Within a C3 district in which this property is zoned, you can consider a special use permit for cannabis retail sales. With the background investigation here, police chief did perform this as well, signed off on the security plan here. The existing condition, the property has been run as Jake's Liquors for a number of years now. They do have a tobacco license on the property. That's an error in the report, and we're not aware of any present compliancy issues pertaining to Jake's Liquors. Yes, and so we bring this forward with those recommendations. The recommendations we have on here are very similar to what we had with the former one, which is to adhere to the Chapter 117 licensing requirements. the special use permit requirements on this that we generally look at for ingress, egress, and et cetera, is not really effective. It's really an additional business item as opposed to change in the services itself. So we are recommending approval of the special use permit as presented in the report. You can open the public hearing at this point, or I can stand for any questions. Thank you.
All right, thanks, John. We'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Anyone here wish to speak? Nope. All right, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Commissioners, open it up for comments, questions, motion. Commissioner Tyken.
I'll make a motion that we recommend approval for the special use permit cannabis retail sales for Gopal Patel, Jake's Liquor at 1608 Main Street.
All right, motion to approve, Commissioner Tyken. Do I have a second? Commissioner McGrath?
Second?
Okay, second by Commissioner McGrath. Any new discussion? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
Okay, thank
Thanks,
you.
John.
And the recommendation will be brought forward to the city council for final action on May 20th. Thank you.
All right, next up is other actions.
Well, Mr. Chair, I don't have any other actions tonight. I will point out that the city council did authorize execution of a contract to redo our zoning code over the next year. So this will be something that will have involvement by the planning commission as we get down the road. We're going to have an initial meeting with Codametrics, the consultant, tomorrow morning, be establishing a time frame for working with the planning commission and how we will go through reviewing and updating the code. The code itself has been around for 28 years. You can imagine that development types and the industry have changed quite a lot in that time period. And from, I think, Justin and I's experience of working with it for a long period of time, there's many things that we've scratched our heads on, but boy, we'd really like to change this, and now is the opportunity to do so. So bring that forward as an informational item, something that we'll be working on more in the future.
Okay, thanks, John. Commissioners, any other business? If not, we'll accept a motion to adjourn. Commissioner Hubbard?
Make the motion to adjourn?
Okay, second. Commissioner
Second.
Peters, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.